But the boy died. Now many public pages are reporting that he died. They haven't announced it yet. There's no mourning. What will happen? Will they replace him with someone? That's possible too. Will they make a clone? Well, he's 2 times 2. In fact, the very fact that it was Ramzan's most beloved son, born from a beautiful woman who was being pulled toward power, who was being dragged toward power, this very fact had a huge impact on people's attitude toward him. Everyone in the Republic. Who was on this boy's side and who wasn't? After all, someone was pulling him toward power. Maybe Ramzan made someone give their word to put him on the throne. It's quite possible that Ramzan made his closest aides give such a promise. And to make sure that promise was solid, usually it's sealed with a huge sum of money. Of course, for someone to fulfill Ramzan's request, the request of a dying, sick Ramzan who could barely speak at that point. Don't believe in miracles. People don't just come back to life like that. Although it hasn't been officially announced by the authorities yet, it strongly appears that after all, the young man and son of the Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov, Adam Kadyrov, has passed away. According to various independent media reports, the incident took place at approximately 1:30 or perhaps 1:10 in the middle of the night. He was taken to the Sklifosovsky Emergency Research Institute in Moscow on a Ministry of Emergency Situations plane. And then the doctors fought for his life for 4 hours, but they couldn't do anything. What were the reasons? What was really happening there, friends? Who will actually tell us what really happened? Many people will speculate. There will be a lot of talk. But in reality, we don't know what happened. And how did this accident happen? He was a cool guy, yeah. He was probably given 159 medals or something like that. And all of that is also a kind of reward. He was being groomed to take Ramzan's place. But he was in someone's way. He was an obstacle for someone. I'm not saying whether he was good or bad. We don't know anything. But I remember back in the day how his pregnant mother, a beauty, a Chechen blonde, a girl with blue eyes, how she was pregnant. She was married off to the Minister of Internal Affairs, I think. And Ramzan danced at the wedding. But she cried. She didn't want to marry an old man. Ramzan. Well, that's what Ramzan decided. What he decided, that's what was done. That's what Ramzan decided. And so this Adam was born. He's the son of that beautiful girl. She was still a schoolgirl. She didn't finish school. And then the wedding already happened. It was in March, I think. Or March. The wedding was in the spring, she cried. She didn't want to go. And all the servants, all of Ramzan's entourage, were circling around. They watched to make sure she didn't say a single extra word. That's Adam's mother. And then they took him away from his mother. She gave birth to him, but they took him away. And the boy is handsome. He looks like his mother. His mother is a beauty. And I don't know how smart or serious she is, but she's just very beautiful. And she didn't want to. Of course, she deserved more. Maybe she wanted to become Ramzan's wife, but the hero of Chechnya, the #1 man in Chechnya. And she's just a girl, a little schoolgirl. Can you imagine? That's it. And now her baby has died. It's a tragedy for a mother. I don't even know if she's still alive, if she survived or not, since then. Nothing is known about her. After all, Chechnya also knows how to keep all its information secret. We've never seen her anywhere again. We only saw her then because she turned to the internet. When they started to marry her off, she said she didn't want to get married. She turned to the internet. That's why the wedding was filmed. That's why Ramzan had to sort of dance at the wedding. And to show that he was having fun with them and that everything was fine with them. Well, and now the baby has died. Why did he die? They raised him in their own way, not the right way. I think he never saw his mother again. He was raised, yes, by Ramzan. He was raised by men. How well he was raised, we don't know. You see, we only see the guy from the outside. Here he is being awarded. Here he's being pulled into a position. Here he is. He was married off early at 17. He was married because the president of Chechnya can't be unmarried. So he was married off early. That's how they had to marry him off. A guy at 17. He hadn't even had time to fall in love with anyone, and he was already married. They did everything to bring him to the position. To Ramzan's position. Let's not talk about whether Ramzan is happy about it. Let's not say anything about what he's like or who he is. We don't know if the real Ramzan is alive. We don't know that either. We don't know where the real Ramzan is. We don't know. But about 4 years ago, the main one came to visit. This person is not exactly an imam, but rather a general Muslim religious figure who is typically only called upon to perform funeral services. For those very high-ranking individuals, such as prominent sheikhs or powerful shahs, their presence is considered essential. And so he came to Chechnya back then. And as for who is sitting in Ramzan's chair now, we don't know. You can't prove anything to anyone, you understand? We won't do that. I just saw that they were leading the boy. That means Ramzan is no longer alive. So it's just, well, a figure sitting there, right? Just a suit. And what they're saying about kidneys, that Ramzan needs kidneys. Friends, that's the one who, it seems, was buried 4 years ago. We don't know either. I can't claim anything for sure. It's pointless. Why should I insist if they have a different version? I assume I think so, because the one who comes to the funeral service came. The very fact that it was Ramzan's most beloved son, born from a beauty, who was being pulled towards power, who was being dragged to power, this very fact had a strong impact. It greatly influenced everyone's attitude toward him in the Republic. Who was on this boy's side? Who wasn't? Someone was pulling him toward power. Maybe from whom? Did Ramzan give his word to put him on the throne? It's quite possible that Ramzan took such a promise from his closest aides. And to make sure that promise was solid, it's usually secured by a huge sum of money. Of course, for someone to fulfill Ramzan's request, the dying sick Ramzan, who could barely speak at that point. Don't believe in miracles. People don't just come back to life like that. That doesn't happen. He was already dying. There was a time when he could have recovered. There was time to get treatment. But that didn't happen. For some reason, you see, someone else didn't need him either. The Kremlin decides everything. It's not decided inside the Republic, the Kremlin decides. And that's why, when Adam started getting awarded too often, the Kremlin swallowed the first award, and the second one too. But when there are too many awards, the Kremlin didn't want that. It's a different policy. You see, everything has changed in the Kremlin too. The main figures are still sitting in the Kremlin. The old men are still there, the old men are still in charge. Those who came before. When did they come? They came in the 1990s. Those high-ranking GRU intelligence officers who are currently serving in charge as senior advisors. They've become rich boys now. I knew them when they were still poor. I knew them at the very beginning, and now they're rich. They run the Kremlin themselves, but there's still leadership above them, so they follow all the orders. Just as they're told. And since, after all, in the Kremlin, the main leader is a Chinese counterintelligence officer who directs all of China's policy in the Kremlin. No, it's all so subtle. Everything happens quietly, gradually. You don't really hear about it, especially where and how China is advancing, how much land they've taken over. But Chinese control is still taking place. So maybe someone over there in the Celestial Empire didn't like the fact that Adam is being pushed up instead of Ramzan. Maybe he hasn't really proven himself. Maybe there's something else. But the boy died. Now, many public channels are reporting that he died. There hasn't been an official announcement yet. No mourning declared. What will happen? Will they replace him with someone else? That's possible too. Will they make a clone? Well, that's just 2 stitches. It's all very simple. But is it necessary? If it's not necessary, they won't do it. If it's not necessary, they'll just declare the boy dead. There will be mourning in Chechnya. Today, January 19th, 2026. I am Tanya Karatsuba Sitbargan.